Good morning, everyone. So we definitely caught a really bad diesel bug, and it was all my fault. Definitely remember to use Biocide, especially if the boat's going to sit for a while. The boat essentially sat for almost a whole year and had half a tank of fuel. So when we were bounced around, we disturbed the bacterial colony in our fuel. And, the first time, we changed the filters, and I thought the fuel pump was dead. It wasn't the fuel pump. We were, the slime colony was so thick and massive, it was going up against the intake for the diesel fuel and clogging the hose, not even making it to the filter. So we were able to go through the ICW easily because the water's relatively flat, not that big a deal. So we did that, and then I was supposed to do a professional treatment while we were in Oriental, and I'm like, whatever's wrong, we must have fixed it, because I was in that sense of, just overconfidence. And so we ended up going out, and we're sailing along, and the wind dies. So I'm like, all right, well, we're adrift and we're floating back into the channel, like 10 miles offshore, but we're not even to the safe water marker yet. I'm like, if a big tanker comes, we're going to get squished. So time to turn the motor on and go. And we do turn the motor on, and we're like on our way. And then the sea state picks up a little bit and the motor dies. But it's so calm. I turn the motor off, let it sit for a little while, works fine. So finally by like 2 a.m., I'm like, screw it. We have to go back into town, and we have to have that professional polish done. But we can't get back because the sea state now is a little too rough, and the engine won't stay on, but there's still not enough wind to actually let us sail. So here's what we did. I had some spare fuel line, and so I disconnected the hose that goes to the tank and put the spare line so that it would go into a spare can of diesel that is not contaminated. And then, surprisingly, the motor works perfectly. And then about 10 minutes later, I realized, oh, wait a minute. I forgot about the diesel goes through the motor, and there's a return hose that goes back to the tank. Well, I come down, and this guy, after like 10 or 15 minutes, was half empty. And that's when I realized that we were basically emptying this and putting it to our contaminated tank. So I tried to get the return hose off, and I couldn't. So I had to cut the hose and feed it into the tank. And so today we are replacing the hose that I had to cut. Longer term, I'm thinking I want to put an emergency bypass selector in here, so that if we ever needed to do this again, hopefully not, we'd just be able to have to switch. It's basically a tank selector, like to pull or to put fuel from one tank to another, and then we just have an emergency tank. So yeah, it is less than fun, because the access port up top only goes to the fuel sender and the sending unit for the fuel gauge, and not the return valve, not the return port, which is farther over. So we had to do something that I hate doing. And that is, we had to take everything out of my bunk so we could take apart the panel. And that over there is the hose we need to replace. So I'm gonna get a light, replace that, and we'll see. And there's our pickup hose, and our sending unit for the fuel gauge is all over there. And there's that access port that gives us access to those things. Anyway, it's a tough spot to get into, but still a good spot. Makes me wonder what we're going to use that space for when we someday go electric. My initial hope was that we'd be able to put batteries there, but the shape doesn't work because batteries are generally square or rectangles. And I have been thinking that would be a great place for a water maker, because you have really good access to the tank, which is behind me there, and to the head, where you could have your controls. Anyway, I'm procrastinating because I don't want to do this. So off we go. Taking a moment to check for leaks. Seems good. Oh. All right, and I'm gonna put the engine pulls back up and all that other jazz. There we go. That was Liam turning it off. I am happy with that, although got a little dirty messing with the engine. Anyway, suppose I gotta pay the bill for all that. And it came to like $525 for the diesel polish and tank inspection and tank cleaning. And then the other thing was we had to stay in the marina. It's a little over $100 a day to be here. For math, I said let's do it for 5 days just so we could like chill and do this stuff with easier access to the hardware store and whatnot. And it came to, and of course, hot showers while we're here after messing with the engine. So I said 5 days, it came to $800 or $850, something like that. So a very pricey mistake when the jug of Biocide is like 20 bucks. Anyway, she's done. Now we see if she works when we go offshore and bounce around a little bit. So that is going to be at some point this week or this weekend.